So the Labour conference is well and truly underway. And we will be hearing a lot this week about what a Labour government would do if it was in charge. And this is something Labour really need to get right. Like this conference, as Andy Burnham has very eloquently put it, this will be Labour's last conference before it gets power. There is a lot, and I mean a lot, of optimism in the Labour Party at the moment, which is a good thing. But as we've said before, this is not a time for anyone in the Labour Party, even progressives, whatever side you are on, to rest on your laurels. But it is also a time where we must come together and say the stuff we would like to do, but we know there's other people in the Labour Party who might not like it, but they like certain parts of it. So let's get together and start to think how we can work together and what policies we can bring forward to put to the people. So one of the big votes we will be seeing this week is a motion for proportional representation to change the voting system for MPs. So, as we've said before, this is just the beginning. Because if we pass this, we must then start to formulate what system we are going to put forward. Because if you remember back in 2012, where we had that referendum on the AV system, which was a system no one wanted, because that was not the system that we wanted as a voting system. So hence, no one voted for it. It took the wind out of a lot of people campaigning for PR sales at that time. But calls for PR to change the voting system have grown ever and more. And I think even now, compared to 2012, it is at a more level of desire than ever before, I think. So we have to get on this bandwagon now, and we have to start saying, okay, we've passed it, but what is it exactly we want to do? But there are still many challenges ahead. Of course, the big one being we've got to get into power. So make no mistake, this will be a big bonus for us and something that we can push at a next general election and start talking about in a very positive way and how it can change British politics for the better. For example, we've got an absolute gem of a moment at this moment in time, where you've got Liz Truss basically running roughshod economically, tearing up the 2019 Tory manifesto left, right, and centre, abandoning loads of promises, and even doing things which her party was not elected on the 2019 platform to actually do. This effectively means that if you've taken the Tory leadership contest, effectively 0.3% of the population effectively voted for this change in direction. Well, what about the rest of the electorate? So, as you can see, this is a fantastic opportunity for us to go forward. It's a really good case for us to make, hey, look, this is an absolute disaster of a voting system we have at the moment. It is not favoring progressive policies. And when we've seen a lot of polls very recently saying that people in the UK really, really do favor progressive policies. The tax cut from going from 45 down to just now 40%, people don't favor it. People would actually want higher than that. So, they're there. People want those progressive policies, and we sort of on the left must now start to make our policies clear. And we have to sometimes go, hey, look, I'm a socialist, but I know there are policies I would love to see, but I know there's a lot of other people in our party which aren't as sort of warm to them as I am, but I'm willing to compromise with other people on the left to achieve those policy aims and goals. And I've stated this, I don't know how many times before on this channel. I would rather get what, 30, 40, maybe even 50% of what I would want from a sort of progressive going forward and uniting with other people on the left in the Labour Party to get these policies done, than have another 4 years of a Conservative government where I get nothing of anything policy-wise of what I want. And make no mistake, the next Conservative manifesto is going to be incredibly worrying, because you've seen what they are currently up to. They will go full right-wing libertarian in their next manifesto, putting things forward which no one will want. And yet this is an opportunity for us on the left to start to really define what it is we can put forward, how our ideas can help the people in this country. And it's not just the sort of people who are really poor and struggling. Yes, they need help. What about everyone else in the country as well? We've got to put forward a vision where we can take everyone in the country to a far, far, far better place than we are now. Because I know we can do better. We've talked about on this channel before about all kinds of different types of policies. I've talked before about how much I would love to see the decarbonization of the steel industry. I think that policy would be amazing. Not only would it guarantee future jobs in the steel industry here in the UK, but it could even potentially grow the steel industry in jobs in these areas that have been left behind, which would be a fantastic opportunity for all these areas. That is proper leveling up, not these low tax economic zones. And make no mistake, I think these are pre-charter cities. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next Tory manifesto we see talk of charter cities and what that could mean. And we've talked about how bad charter cities are. So my hope is at this Labour conference, we will get PR passed and we will get it into the manifesto and get it as a proper promise, because it's not just, oh yes, we're going to change the voting system to a PR one. We have to be prepared for, okay, what PR system do you want? Well, we want single transferable vote because that's the PR system I would like. I think there are others who maybe would disagree and say, but one of the big things we know, which is going to be our big opposition, which we know there are answers to, so we have to start preparing answers to these questions, is, well, what about my local MP? What if I lose my local MP? That is the biggest opposition to PR we have seen. But we know that's not true. You can still have your local MP under a PR system. Other countries do it. So make no mistake, there are questions still that we need to have answers for, and we need to be preparing to answer. But this, hopefully, if it gets passed, and all signs and indications are saying that it should be passed, we could be seeing a big movement towards PR. And we have to be prepared for what comes after this. Because if we pass this, great. Then we have to have those answers. Great. Then we have to form it into a policy that can get us into power. And once we are in power, we then have to pass that. And I'll tell you now, if we aren't in power, we ain't getting this. I will tell you now, that will be the case. Because you can't, you don't get to steer the ship if you ain't the captain. And we've got to make Keir Starmer the captain of the UK ship and make sure that we are sailing towards some very good progressive shores. And I've said it once in this video, but I will say it again. I will very, very happily compromise with other people on the left if we can get 20, 40, maybe even 50%, even 60% of what we want. because guess what? It gets us into power, and we can prove, well, some of our policies do work. So why not take them further? You know, as always, we'll have to wait and see. And hopefully, sort of people on the left will sort of realize that and sort of say, well, yeah, we have to come together and work together on this. So hopefully that will be the case. So as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, we'll see you all next time.